Right guys, so today we're doing a walkthrough of how Eli and Fur's You're So High track was made. The track was made in 2013 and has turned out to be a bit of a deep house classic. This is what we're going to be making. Great, so if you want to download this from my Patreon, you can get that in the link below. There are a few bits of the track that aren't actually made yet, and I'm going to make them with you now. So let's get started. Great, so let's start with the pad. It sounds like this. It's made in Serum. We're going to start by looking at the MIDI notes. So we're in the key of D minor, so the whole track is in the key of D minor. And this first block, all we've got is the root note of D, the root note of D pitched up again, and then the third, got the F going into the G. So it's made up of 3 chords really. So yeah, pretty simple. The sound of it comes from Serum. And if you look here, we've got this. If you go to analog and to basics underscore w.r.d, I then changed the wavetable position to about here. Yeah, so about 97, but obviously you can change it to your preference. We've then got this envelope, which has quite a short decay and a bit of sustain. So what that's doing is then if you drag this plus over to the filter cutoff, and then you can drag that to about 70, creates that plucky sound. If I do it up higher, it's a bit too tacky. So we're taking away some of them, that high end on purpose to make the sound a bit more mellow. Again, you can play around the resonance, the drive, make it a bit fatter. In terms of effects, I have done them all outside of Serum, so let's then crack on to the effects. Oh, what I also missed is this unison is pitched up, so it basically just gives it a bit of width, and then detuned it, otherwise if it's too out of tune, it's going to sound weird, so turn that detune down a bit. Next we've got the reverb. Let's take them all off and go one by one. So without the reverb, where's the sound gone? Sounds awful, right? So we've got this lovely vintage Valhalla reverb. Again, you could use the ABLETON stock reverb, but I just like the vintage one because it's nice to look at and it sounds a little bit better, sort of. In your head it does anyway. So I've just gone for the preset Concert Hall. I normally just pick a preset with vintage reverb. So if you go to default, there's plenty of presets you can choose from. Generally for sounds like pads and vocals, you want to go for like a hall reverb. So yeah, I've just gone for Concert Hall. I've then lowered the decay down to about 3.5 seconds and load the mix. Again, if you want to take it up, you can. But yeah, that's the bulk. The bulk of the sound is coming from this reverb and the signal going from Serum, that pluck, into the reverb. Cool, so we've then got this EQ, taking out some on the low end, just because anything below about 75 just really isn't needed. I then got this delay. So I've set it to a 1/3, so it's going every 1/3 note. Yeah, feedback about 40%, dry wet, you can go up to 50. Any more than that, then you're going to cut out the sound. Anything over 50, you're going to cut out the sound from your original signal. So that first note, it's not going to hit on it, it's going to hit after, if you listen. So yeah, it sort of drowns out the first hit, which you don't want. So keep the dry wet below 50. We've then got the compression. This is sidechain it to the kick, and it's quite subtle, but it's allowing the kick to basically punch through a little bit in the mix. I mean, you don't really hear it, but it does add up in the long term. We will then move on to the bass. So with the kick, pretty simple. If you want to look at the notes, you can copy these. We're just going from D up to F to G and then back down, repeating. So the bass is made in Serum. Here is what it looks like. So we're using the basic MDC under the analog wave tables, and we have adjusted it slightly. So it's about 48. Yeah, I mean, you can do it by ear, but you're going to be around in that region. If we solo that, so it's quite bassy. It's mainly due to the notes that it's in. I mean, quite deep and low. It's about as deep as you can get D before it starts to fail out. It's quite a bad key, to be honest, D. I would try and avoid it where you can. It's probably one of the worst keys you can make a dance track in, from my experience. But anyway, this track, it works. So we've got this envelope, which is controlling the filter cutoff. We've got MG24, and the envelope, we've got a decay of about that. So about 450 to 500. Got a bit of a sustain on there without it, but not too much. So about in the mid region. Effects, you've got some distortion. You've got the tube without it. So you can actually bang that up a bit. We've then, take the chorus off, we've then got this reverb. So it's just making it a bit less dry. It's a plate reverb, and it's taking out a lot of the low, because you don't want any of the low sort of reverberating in the bass. I mean, you can, but that's for a different video. Yeah, pretty simple effects. We've then got this compressor and a side chain to the kick. So if I would make it more dramatic, just pumping it a bit. We've then got this a bit warmer. So again, saturating it even more, just to really get the most out of the bass and the low end. We've then boosted about 170 hertz, and again at about 800. So yeah, it's just to really bring out the bass in the mix, and you can hear it better on like headphones and things like that. We've then got the drums. So this is what they sound like. It's really basic. All it is 2 clap layers together, no effects. We've then got these 2 hats. And then this second hat. What I'm going to do is process them with you now a bit. So we've already got this drum bus and this EQ taking out some of the low end. All the drum bus is doing is add a bit of saturation. What I'm going to do is show you this shaker. So this is just a shaker sample. What I'm going to do is add a bit of groove, because they're quite groovy, the tracks in Eli and Fur. So what I'm going to do is go up here, extract groove. Then what it's going to do is extract the groove from it. So by groove, I mean like swing. So the notes will be slightly out of place on purpose. So then that groove is basically over here. It's now called groove. And we'll go to our hats and insert this groove, put it on there. If you really want to see the effect, you click that. And you'll see it's moved them slightly. So this adds a bit of swing. It might be a little bit too much. Let's add it to all of our drums. We can always remove a little bit later. We're going to keep the kick where it is though, because everything's basically grooving from that kick. So consolidate, groove. Say it's too much on the hats. So let's take it off the hats. So none. I'm going to add it onto the bass. So it's giving it a nice bit of swing. We're even going to add it onto the pad. So maybe that shuffle doesn't have the best, sorry, that yeah, that shaker doesn't have the best swing on it, to be fair. So you could do that again, obviously with a different preset. So all you got to do for that is click on this groove button, go to MPC, and click one of these, or one of the Logic ones are probably the best. Or again, the Notator has some quite good swings in it as well. I will be covering this in a more depth in a different video. But yeah. We are then going to look at this pluck. So we're going to make this from scratch. So I've already got the notes in. It's just the same as they are in the original. So we go from a G down to an F, an E, and a D. So just down the D minor scale down to the root note. So to make a pluck, let's start with a sound. So we also need a shape. So let's just go to analog and basic shapes for now. Oh, analog, basic shapes, and let's start with a saw. Okay, we're then going to get this envelope. So this is controlling the amplitude, so the volume of the sound. Let's solo it. So let's make it a lot shorter and pluckier. We're then going to turn this filter on, and we could do it from envelope 1, but let's do it in envelope 2 so we've got more control. Move this down and assign that over there. Then this envelope is basically going to control that filter and how it opens up. So we're going to do this similar sort of pattern. Want it to open up a little bit more. Let's change the filter to maybe an 18. And let's bring up the sustain. Make the decay a bit longer. Bit release. Next we're going to add a reverb. Let's do a plate. Add a bit of chorus. Make it a bit wider. What we are then going to do is add this delay. So all you've got to do is get a delay. Drag it on here. You can use the echo, but I do find this simple delay is just so much better and easier. Keep it on a third, and let's lower the dry wet, and let's lower the feedback as well. Then turn ping pong on. Lower the width. Cool. And if we hear it as a whole. So I reckon quite a bit more delay actually. We need to turn the volume of it up a bit. Maybe have it opening up a little bit more. Yeah, maybe add a bit more res. Bit of drive. And there's still a little bit too much high end, so let's get an EQ and dip it down like that. Yes, that sounds about right. I mean, I might even take a little bit more of the top end off. That's about right. Cool. And that is pretty much the whole track. So I hope you enjoy, and thank you very much for watching. Thank you. Bye bye.